I like this setup. This is this is so much better. I'm really like staring down here. Let's stare at the camera and not at you.
So Christopher, what brings you into LA this weekend?
I'm playing at the LA International Ukulele Festival.
Say what?
I'll be teaching a workshop on constructing chord melody songs.
Wow, man, that sounds pretty intense.
It is. It can be intense, yes.
Is that more of an intermediate course then?
It is.
Somebody that's had a ukulele for a little bit?
Yeah, beginner.
Practiced a time or two?
Yeah, and know maybe a little bit more than 3 chords. But you don't need too much more than that to make it happen as long as you understand the basic concepts.
So what Ohana model is your current bow over here?
I'm playing the SK39, which I've been playing for about a year. This is my main uke. My main instrument that comes everywhere with me if I leave the house. My ukulele case is my purse, so it keeps all my personal belongings, but also my instruments, so I always have it, just in case. You never know when you're going to need a uke.
And what about the SK39 makes it your favorite uke?
Well, this specific one just sounds really, really good. That's the biggest thing. They're gorgeous instruments, but I love the mahogany bodies because they're a little bit more mellow than some of the Koa ones. And not everyone can afford a vintage 5K Martin, myself included, nor would I want to bring it everywhere with me because I'd be terrified of cracking it. And this gets me like pretty darn close sound-wise, and plus the aesthetic. And it's just, this was the uke that feels like my uke. And I was lucky enough to come here to the factory last year and pick out this specific one in Lewis, and I sat here for a while going through different ones because each individual uke has its own voice. You gotta find your own.
Fun. I'm glad you got to meet him in person.
Oh, it was a
hang out
blast.
with him in the warehouse.
Yeah. He just kept bringing me ukes. I didn't know what to do. I'm like, I guess I'll play all of these.
That is so Lewis, totally. How about this one? You got to try one more.
Yeah, exactly. I really think we went through about 17 of this model. But when I played this one, we both just looked at each other. We're like, that's the one.
Are you playing regularly? Any engagements in Philly? Are you teaching?
A little bit of everything. I usually gig about 4 times a week in the Philadelphia area, be it on uke or guitar or singing or as an upright bass player for various combos across the city. But there's a lot of work keeping us busy now, and it's a beautiful time to be in that city. We have a real big blossoming jazz scene thanks to, New York being too expensive for anyone to live there, which is a huge plus. And also we have 3 major music colleges in school. Well, 4 if you count Curtis, but they don't believe in jazz, so I don't believe in them.
And where should people tune in to find out where you're playing locally?
The easiest place is my website, which is thetinman.co. Has all my schedules, be it local or when I'm on tour. Everything you need is right there.
Are you working on any new music, any new albums in the works?
We have a full album worth of original material written right now that I've been co-writing with the bass player in my band, who's just a phenomenal composer in general. So we've been taking ideas, and I'm also working side by side with a friend who's a lyricist. So this is my first original project that is not start to finish myself and actually collaborating with other people. But I thought it was a great concept because I love these old jazz tunes, and for the most part, they were not written by the artist. They were songwriting teams out of Tin Pan Alley that were getting together and writing these tunes in a collaborative process. So I thought if we were going to do something akin to that, it would be best to address it from the start, as if we were doing a project back in the 20s and 30s, when Tin Pan Alley are coming out of the Brill Building in New York or something like that. But it's been a little bit tough to relinquish total control over the music. But we're hoping to roll some of those out as singles in the next few months, and then over the next year roll out the entire record.
Sweet. We'll be looking for those in late 2019 or 2020 then.
Yeah.
All right, ready?
I don't know if I'm ready.
All right.
You're not going to make me imitate ukulele players, are you?
No.
That was the most entertaining video I've ever seen.
Wait, what was it?
The ukulele underground one?
The charades.
Okay, so
I was...
question was, your style is super specialized.
Yes.
Do you? It's fantastic. Do you feel like you can use any to portray that, or are there really certain styles and sounds that you can only get from certain ukes to really push that style?
I think you really can play on any uke or any instrument. I'm a big proponent of separating music from the instrument itself. So I think you can use any tool to accomplish what you need. But I specifically play sopranos with high G tuning because that's what was accessible during that period of time. And I also love the limitations of this uke because it really only functionally has 12 frets on here, even though the fingerboard extends. And the high G, so you get less than an octave and a half of usable range, which is such an interesting limitation to me and forces you to really think about things differently. I can't think about it like I think about guitar or bass, where I feel like if I have a low G and more frets, I try to do things that are just not indicative of the style. So it's more about reining myself in than anything else.
It's always funny because a lot of people think, oh, ukulele is so easy, but a lot of us say, no, it's actually gets much harder when you have to be choosy about.
Totally,
voices
yeah, and
all that, yeah.
that's really what I love about the instrument is my bass player doesn't like me sometimes because I play a lot of drop voicings that are very ambiguous chords, and we don't allow music on stage even if we're playing a song they've never heard before. That's just what we do, and I'm lucky to play with musicians that have amazing ears. But whenever I'm playing uke and not guitar, that is just sometimes like, what is that C sharp diminished or is that A7 flat 9? We'll see later. So I like to mess with my my musicians that way too.
Yes. Now, what's great is that we are seeing you more at these ukulele festivals, which has a huge component of teaching.
Yes.
Do you love teaching as much as performing? And if so, what are some of your favorite moments as an instructor?
Yeah, I do love teaching just as much as I love playing on stage. They're so similar to each other. Really, there's that performative aspect of teaching. And I've been teaching privately for a long time. I grew up with a mother who was a piano teacher, so after school I'd come home and listen to her teach while I was doing my homework every single day. So I feel like it was always just like stuck in me that I had to give the knowledge that I have to other musicians, which I really love. But back to the festivals, the group teaching is a newer thing to me. I've done smaller ukulele group teachings, but it's been really nice to stand in front of the room and try to wrangle everyone in and just hope that everyone gets something out of it, because it's impossible in those contexts to really give people everything that you could in a private lesson. And it was tough the first couple times that I did it, but then I realized that they're there to take the tidbits and go home and work on things. As long as you can portray those basic concepts, it's really just like an incredible thing to be able to teach in those larger contexts. I really enjoy it.
Has anything surprised you about the ukulele scene compared to your typical music?
So much so. I'm pretty fresh to the uke scene. I've been going to folk festivals and jazz festivals and playing for years and been really ingrained in different scenes. And the uke scene is so accepting and so kind of everyone at all skill levels, which is the great, even if your only goal is to play 3 chords on the instrument, everyone there is to support you. And there's just, there are so few egos across the ukulele stratosphere, which I love. Like, you can hang out with these phenomenal players that are also just the nicest people in the world, and you don't see that with some other instruments. and it's kind of a bummer, but that's one of the things I really love about the uke scene is just everyone is just so accessible and so welcoming. I've sent emails to people who's playing that I really enjoy just to ask a simple question, and they're so happy to just write back and help you out. And that doesn't happen a lot in the world in general, I think. So it's a magical little place that we live in.
Are there any big dream projects on the ukulele that you might want to try in the future? Is there anything that stands out so that you...
There is one silly thing that I've been wishing to try. So when I started performing music, not playing, I played clarinet for about 13 years before I switched to string instruments. But in high school, I wanted to be in a rock band. My friends were starting a rock band. And mind you, I was listening to jazz back then, and they wanted to be Nine Inch Nails. So I bought a bass and played in this electronic rock band, and it was great, and it was a lot of fun to hang out with my friends. But I've actually wanted to go back and readdress that and write original ukulele pieces for campanella style, along with like trip hop beats behind them, which is so far removed from everything else that I do. But it's just one of these compositional projects that I've had on my horizon and really want to like get out there because I think it would be a lot of fun.
Nice. For those on the fence of buying their first ukulele, what would you say to them?
Ooh, well, A, do it. Because unlike other instruments, you could get a $60 to $100 uke that is great. You can't do that with most instruments. And the used market is wonderful. But the biggest thing is if you have the ability to go out and try as many ukes as possible and get them in your hands, there's nothing like that. Because you want to find your instrument, but also if you're just starting out, see what scale feels best to you. And all of that, but also if you're buying online, which we're lucky that we can do that now, just make sure that you buy from someone that actually deals in ukes and not a big box store so that you get a well set up instrument because there's nothing worse than being a beginner and having a uke that when you fret it is out of tune. And it doesn't inspire people to play the instruments. And I've had so many students that come to me and they feel like they can't play bar chords at all and it's because the nut height on their uke is so high that it's tough for me to play them. So people like I bought my first Ohana from Mim, who I think is just a wonderful person and puts so much love and care into the instrument. She truly cares about every single one that goes out her door. She would not put something out there that isn't perfect. And people like her are who you should be buying from if you're doing it sight unseen, because then you're at least you know you have someone behind you even if it's not the perfect uke, and that's really great to have.
Awesome.
You're a good question asker.
I was a really good question asker.
Did you ever consider being a cop? Wait, are you a cop?